Hello, hello. Okay, everything's working. What's up, guys? It's been a while. Work's been kicking my ass, but let's fucking soldier on through this thing now. I've made my feelings well known about what welterweight fight I want to see. I say I want to see Jorge Masvidal fight Conor McGregor. I'd like to see Jorge Masvidal versus Conor McGregor for the BMF title. That's what I want to see. You know. And I don't know, Dana might have said that the BMF was a one-time thing, but I don't think it should. I think it's something that we should just fucking we should keep going. But you know what? Dana, in his infinite wisdom, decides against that. So Dana is really pushing this Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal angle. And at first I really wasn't into this fight. I felt that Jorge Masvidal, dude, he's been in the game so fucking long, man. Like, he needs that goddamn check, dude. Like, Connor versus Donald Cerrone might not have been, the money fight. Donald Cerrone didn't really get that much money from it. But Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal, that's a totally different beast, dude. That's a totally different thing. And, with Conor doing so good with his whiskey label, and now Jorge, creating or investing in his new alcohol beverage business. Yeah, a fight between those two would poise both men up for a lot of money from it. And I think that's what, Jorge Masvidal deserves. He fuck fuck a belt, dude. If you can get a money fight, if you can garner enough attention to where people want to fucking, see you anytime you fight and they want to listen to everything you say. If you finally garnered that much attention in a business like this, dude, fuck a belt. It's all about money fights, dude. And unfortunately, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal is not the money fight. Now, let's get into it. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal is a very bad matchup for Jorge. Now, there's been a lot of talking. They just had an altercation that's on YouTube, and there's been a lot of talk for a while now between those two, it's coming to a head, and that's always cool to see. It's always nice to have, a little bit of a backstory behind the fight, but it always doesn't need to be that way. But, these guys have been going at it, and, Dana, for whatever reason, he thinks that this is the fight, to make next. So, phone call right there. Personally, I think that, you know what? Yeah, Dana says that this is the fight to make next. And I don't want to get into what I think because I'm not the fucking president of the UFC. But, so, I didn't like this fight. I didn't like this fight at first, but it's growing on me. I'm starting to like it. I'm starting to like the prospect of Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. I don't think that it's going to be a very big payday for Jorge. I honestly don't think that. Maybe it will. Maybe it will be. But not as big as Conor McGregor. But I'll leave that alone. So, this fight with Jorge and Kamaru, it's grown on me, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and the conclusion I came to was that if this fight does happen, guys, I'm gonna tell you right out the gate. I'll tell you right out the gate, and then I'll explain myself afterwards. So just listen to who I think is gonna win. And, if you don't like it, fucking get the fuck out of here. You bitch ass, you don't like what I'm talking about. But if you want to fucking, kind of understand where I'm coming from, just stick around. So, Kamaru Usman is going to win this fight against Jorge Masvidal. If they do fight, if Dana does decide to make it happen, he's going to win the fight. And he's going to win it by decision. And let's get into why. So, we're going to start with Jorge. Now, before I get into this, I've got to let you guys know that I am a fan of Jorge Masvidal. I am a fan of Jorge Masvidal, ever since he knocked out Eve Edwards when I was following Eve Edwards' career, because Eve Edwards was that motherfucking man, dude. Fucking Dean Thomas and Eve Edwards, I was kind of built like those guys growing up. So I always, took time out to watch those fights, and when he eventually fought Jorge Masvidal and caught that roundhouse to the head, fuck, dude, I finally, caught wind of Jorge Masvidal. Haven't been tracking him too much, but, of course, like these last three fights were fucking huge fights, for Jorge. And, he's had a pretty rough career. I'm pretty sure it should be fair to say he's had a rough career in the UFC, but yeah, he's had a fairly decent one. He's 35-13. That's not a bad record. But, Kamaru is, 16-1. And, Jorge has been fighting since 2003. So when it comes to MMA, Jorge has all the experience, right? But Kamaru has been wrestling since sophomore year, it says down here. He went 53-3 in high school. He went 45-9. I think just at this school right here, he went. Yeah, he went 45-9, 25-6 in tournaments, 10 in majors, 20-3 in duels. 25-6 in tournaments, 20-3 in duels. And he has the second most wins of this school's history. But he's had a pretty good wrestling career. Now Kamaru Usman, he got hurt in wrestling. I think it was his knee, and he can't train right. He can't run. Basically, he can't run. He does a lot of underwater exercises. A lot of swimming too. But yeah, Kamaru has experience too, even though he doesn't have a ton of MMA experience. Certainly not as much as Jorge Masvidal. But when we start to look at Jorge Masvidal's record, we start to see a lot of telling stuff. Let's start with his most recent wins. Now, Nate Diaz is, the TKO stoppage by the doctor. I didn't agree with that, especially not in the third round. And honestly, in the third round, I saw that Jorge Masvidal was getting tired. And a universal sign of when an athlete is tired is when they put their heads. You put both of your hands on the top of your head. So you guys at home, put both of your hands on the top of your head. This is the universal sign of a tired athlete. Two hands at the top of the head. You can probably put your fingers together and make like a little bridge. Put it like and just like sit it on top of your head. And when any athlete makes this gesture, has this position, he's tired, and that was the exact position Jorge Masvidal had at the end of the third round. Jorge Masvidal was tired at the end of the third round, and dude, I could put money on it, dude. By the beginning of that fourth round, dude, we were going to see something, dude. We were going to see something very telling. Now let's look at Jorge Masvidal's knockouts, because that's what has garnered him this much attention. He has submissions and he had decision wins, but nobody cared back then. People care about knockouts. People love knockouts. Jesus loves knockouts. So he has the fastest knockout in UFC history, maybe MMA history, dude, with 3 seconds. It says 5 seconds right here. Ben Askren was out as soon as that knee touched, and the knee touched around like the 3 second mark, I believe. Between the 3 and the 4 second mark. I want to say 3 seconds, dude. 3 seconds. Ben Askren was out of there. The fight before that with Darren Till, he knocks him out in the second round. But Darren Till did tag Masvidal and actually fucking drop him in that first round. He gave Masvidal some problems. And Masvidal, he of course, you look at his record, dude, 35 in 13, well over 40 fights, 48 fights in MMA. He bounced back because he has experience, an experience that Darren Till does not have. He's a very young man, and he was just coming off a loss to Tyron Woodley, where the UFC was really pushing this guy. The UFC was pushing Darren Till to be whatever the fuck the next Conor. I don't know what it is with Dana and these goddamn motherfucking motherfuckers from the UK, dude. He loves them. I don't know. Apparently they bring money, but that wasn't the case for Darren Till. He got submitted by Tyron Woodley, and then he, as you guys see right here, he got KO'd in the second by Jorge Masvidal. He lost to Stephen Thompson, which is telling, by unanimous decision. He lost to Damian Maia by split decision, which is still telling. But he knocks out Donald Cerrone in the second round, or TKO's Donald Cerrone in the second round. And he does the same to Jake Ellenberger in the first round. Now, in 2017, Donald Cerrone wasn't the Donald Cerrone, that... It wasn't the same Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone had been in many wars. He had taken many knockout losses by this time. He's taken many losses, period. He's taken damage, dude. Donald Cerrone is a fucking warrior, and that shit takes a toll on your body. And in 2017, it was starting to be, very noticeable that Donald Cerrone, it was about that time for him to hang it up, And the same thing for Jake Ellenberger. Jake Ellenberger at the beginning of his career was a fucking destroyer. People forget. People forget that Jake Ellenberger was out here, bro, smashing motherfuckers. And but towards the end of the latter part of his career, he really wasn't. He wasn't the same dude. Too many wars. That's what happens, dude. It takes a toll when you start taking losses, man. In the first 4 knockouts that we see right here in TKOs, we see that it's either in the first or second round. And honestly, that's how all of Jorge Masvidal's knockouts go in TKOs. Jorge has never knocked anybody out in the third or the fourth or the fifth round. He's never done that. He's never done it. He's only knocked people out in the first or second. Let's look at this. Cesar Ferreira knocked him out KO first round. Let's look down here. Satoru Kitaoka. He knocks him out in the second round. We go down to Ryan Schultz, TKO first round. We have Brant Rose, TKO first round. We have another TKO first round. KO kick against Eve Edwards in the second round. We have a TKO against David Gardner in the second round. And a TKO against the fucking legend, the goddamn man, Joe Lozon, in the second round. And, a TKO in the second round. Another KO in the first round with this, was his first fight. And that's telling, dude, that the fact that Jorge has only knocked people out in the first or second round. That is very telling. And these last 2, knockouts were kind of iffy. He knocked out Darren Till, but, I don't know, dude. Darren Till was a little shook. I believe Darren Till was a little shook. He was doing good in that first round, but, I think that Tyron Woodley fight really humbled him, but to his core, so he got into this fight with Jorge, and he eventually found his footing, and he dropped Jorge, he hurt Jorge, and Jorge came back at it. He came back at him, and there was a beautiful punch he knocked him out with that switch stance, that switch overhand right. Beautiful. One of the most beautiful punches I've ever seen in my life. That was some good shit by Jorge. But Darren Till, he was kind of shook, dude. He's a young cat, and he had a lot of pressure on him. Ben Askren, he did get knocked out in like 3 seconds, but at the same time, everybody knows what Ben Askren is going in there to do. He's going to shoot, he's going to take you down, he's going to beat you up, and he's going to choke you out, or you are just going to get TKO'd, That's how Ben Askren rolls. That's how he has always been. That's him. Like, say what you want about Ben Askren, bro. Ben Askren is no fucking point fighter. He pushes the fucking pace. And, but he's not proficient in anything else. He doesn't train anything else, or at least as much as he should. And he paid for it. And, anybody could have done that to Ben Askren, to be honest. I mean, for real, anybody could have done that, and people didn't. He knocks out Don Cerrone and Jake Ellenberger. We already talked about, how those guys, they weren't the same when they fought, Jorge Masvidal. And let's be real. Jorge Masvidal is not going to knock Kamaru Usman out in the first or second round. Kamaru Usman is not going to come out with his head down looking to shoot in on you. He's not. That's not how he's coming in. He's coming in slow and methodical with his hands up by his head. You know what I mean? And the dude is a fucking powerhouse. He has a very large gas tank. He is very technical. Every single day, his striking seems to get better. Because every time we see him in here, he shows us something new with this with his striking. And in this Colby Covington fight, that was made very evident. He was using a variety of strikes, and striking not just the strikes that he threw, but just shot selection. Like, he showed very good shot selection in that Colby Covington fight, and he beats Tyron Woodley. I didn't really care, when Kamaru beat Damian Maia, or even when he beat Rafael dos Anjos, because he was obviously the bigger guy. But when Kamaru Usman beat Tyron Woodley, that's when I knew. And I know, like, that was only last year that he beat Tyron Woodley. And some people might say, well, man, you can't tell. You don't know, bro. You can't just fucking say just because he beat fucking Tyron Woodley. Tyron had, like, a lot of things going on. He was working with TMZ. He was fucking rapping, and his head wasn't it. First of all, fuck you. You know what I mean? To say that Tyron Woodley's head isn't in fighting, what are you fucking talking? Let's remind these motherfuckers real fast why don't we? Let's remind these motherfuckers of just who this man Tyron Woodley was, dude. Let's look at his record. Look at this fucking man's record, bro. Lost to Kamaru Usman. Look at this man's record. We're gonna start from the bottom, bro, and we're gonna go up, bro. Look at the fucking monsters this man has to face. In Strikeforce, dude, this man faces beats Tarek Safedin, beats Paul Daly, beats Jordan Mine, fights Nate the fucking great Marquardt, Jay Heron, fucking Jake Shields, and he lost, Jake Shields. A fucking another monster. People don't know, man. Motherfuckers don't even know about Jake Shields nowadays, bro. Motherfuckers forget how deep Strikeforce in UFC used to be, bro. And it still is, because we have new talent every single day, but, like, these guys are killers. Josh Koscheck. Say what you want about Josh Koscheck, bro. But, old Joshy, dude. Old Joshy wasn't a fucking pushover either, dude. Carlos Condit, Roy McDonald, Dong Hyun Kim, Calvin Gastelum, dude. Robbie fucking Lawler, Stephen Thompson, twice. Damian Maia, Darren Till, bro. This is who he's fought these men in a fucking row. Tarek Safedin, Paul Daly, Jordan Mine, Nate Marquardt, Jay Heron, Jake Shields, Josh Koscheck, Carlos Condit. Nigga, this is like a fucking Mortal Kombat tower, bro. This is a fucking Mortal Kombat tower, dude. That is literally what that is. Tyron Woodley has been facing since 2012. Or no, since 2011. Oh no, wait. Since 2011. Since 2011, Tyron Woodley has been facing nothing but the finest welterweight fighters in history, bro. Paul Daly, Tarek Safadine, Jordan Mine, Nate Marquardt, Jay Huron, Jake Shields, Josh Koscheck, Carlos Condit, Rory McDonald, Donghyun Kim, Kelvin Gastelum, Robbie Lawler, Stephen Thompson twice, Damian Maia, oh, Darren Till, dude, and Kamaru fucking stops him, dude. He hadn't lost. Tyron Woodley hadn't taken a loss since Rory McDonald, dude. And that loss he took to Roy, like Roy wasn't the same after that fucking fight. That shit took a lot out of Roy. You know, I mean, he got the unanimous decision, but Jesus Christ, dude. Anytime you're in there with Tyron Woodley, he's going to hit you. And when he hits you, like that, he's going to inflict a lot of damage. That's what he does, dude. He's a fucking powerhouse at 170. And he's been fighting nothing but killers. Nothing but killers. He has been fighting nothing but literal fucking killers, dude. These guys they murder people, bro. And he's been fighting all of them. And then he fights Kamaru Usman, a guy that, you know, Kamaru Usman hasn't been fighting a lot of killers. You know, he hasn't been fighting killers. Now, he's fought in LFC, and if you don't know anything about Legacy, like, there's not a lot of pushovers in Legacy, dude. There's some monsters in Legacy, and even though he only, fought 3 fights, you know, it's not the UFC, but, you know, it's pretty good. But even in the UFC, you know, he fights, Leon Edwards, you have Alexander Yakovlev, but you know, not too many, you know, well-known names. You know, you have Sergio Moraes right here. He's fucking knocked Sergio out. But you know, he starts around 2018 with this fight against Damian Maia, dude. That's when he starts fighting the upper echelon. He fights fucking Damian Maia. And think about this. All the while, Tyron Woodley is still fighting fucking killers. This whole time, Tyron Woodley's been fighting fucking killers since 2011. He's been fighting murderers, bro. When Kamaru Usman had his first professional fight against David Glover in November of 2012, Tyron Woodley was fighting who? November of 2012. January of 2012. This man was fighting. He was fighting fucking Nate Marquardt, bro, at this time. So during the same time that Kamaru had his fucking his first professional fight, this man was fighting. Tyron Woodley was fighting Nate the Great Marquardt, bro. Jay Huron, Jake Shields, Josh Koscheck, he was fighting the who's who of the welterweight division, dude. And you know, Kamaru Usman, you know, he's only been fighting, you know, some you know, not so well known guys, some guys like him trying to fucking work their way up in professional mixed martial arts. And you know, even though, you know, he started fighting in 2012. This man still, like, he didn't just, you know, like, it wasn't just like he dominated Tyron Woodley, dude. He fucking took it to him, and then some, dude. And then some more. And then some more. It's hard, dude. There aren't very many times when Tyron Woodley has looked like that, dude. There are not very many times at all, dude. There aren't very many times at all. But goddamn, dude, Kamaru Usman put it on Tyron Woodley in such a fucking definitive fashion. put him, bro. I mean, didn't put him away, but shit, dude. Even though it was a decision, dude, he put him away, dude. He put him away, even though it was a decision. It was fucking wild. It was nuts. It was bonkers. And people could have said, it was a fluke. It was lucky, but like, no, bro. You can't. There's no luck in that. That's not a fluke. It's maybe if it was a first round KO, maybe a fluke. That's not a fluke. And then on top of that, he fights Colby Covington next, a man who is riding high on top of the world, just beat fucking Robbie Lawler in the same way that Kamaru, much in the same way, kind of in the same way that Kamaru beat Tyron Woodley. Except, Colby was just fucking, just the strikes he was hitting fucking Robbie Lawler with. Robbie just could not get a grip. He couldn't get started, And, he had just fought Rafael dos Anjos after, and then, he beat Rafael, and then he beat, Damian Maia before that. So, yeah, dude, I mean, Colby was riding high coming into this fight, and, he is another pressure fighter, another wrestler, that wrestle mentality is just fucking pure conditioning, pure wrestling, pure resiliency. Kobe's pressure, it didn't do enough. These guys are fucking going at it, but, it wasn't enough, man. Kamaru ended up breaking Kobe's jaw and ended up getting the TKO in the 5th round with only 50 seconds left in the fight. Insane shit, dude. Now, people might say, that you can't just fucking, you can't just count Jorge out. He's been fighting for fucking years. He's been fighting for almost 20 years, and I understand that. I get it, dude. Look, I get it. But the fact of the matter is that the numbers are right in front of you, bro. And since we're talking about Kamaru Usman getting these decision wins, and he does have a lot of decision wins, and he has 3 or 5. I mean, dude, basically like his last 5 fights, or last 4 fights, were 5-round fights, and they damn near went to decision. Even though he TKO'd Colby Covington, there was only 50 seconds left in the fight, so that's basically fucking decision too, even though it was a TKO. So I mean, if anything, we know that he can go for 5 rounds. And every time he does, he has, been in a 5-round fight, he's won. That's the fact. Now, let's look at Jorge Masvidal's 5-round fight. Now, Masvidal only has, I believe, 2 5-round fights. One 5-round fight against Benson Henderson in 2015. Now, Benson Henderson in 2015 was not the same Benson Henderson. He wasn't the fucking Benson Henderson from 2011, dude. And he's doing good. He's doing pretty good in Bellator. I'd say he's doing pretty damn good in Bellator, and I wish him all the fucking all the luck in the world, dude. But you see, this Benson Henderson that beat Jorge, this was a different Benson Henderson. This wasn't the same Benson Henderson from 2011 that was fucking destroying the UFC lightweight division. This wasn't the same Benson Henderson that was dominating and destroying the WEC lightweight division. This was a different man. And what changed Benson Henderson was 2 fights with Anthony Pettis. Of course, the first fight in WEC when Anthony Pettis hit him with the Showtime kick. He ran off the fucking cage and kicked him in the head. And then the second time was in the UFC in 2013 when Anthony Pettis, in their second fight, submitted him by armbar. And so you see after this fight, he fought, Rustam and Josh Thompson here. And he lost against Rafael dos Anjos, Donald Cerrone, and Andre Korshev, and he has some losses here, but this isn't he was never the same after those 2 losses. After it was something about Anthony Pettis losing to Anthony Pettis all those times, dude. The first time, of course, it was crazy. It was a decision, it was a unanimous decision win, but Anthony Pettis, like he thrived off of one kick in that fight, you know, and you know, a lot of that shit probably won him the fight, got him the decision. And the second Anthony Pettis fucking submission armbar in the UFC, and Anthony Pettis became the lightweight champion. And you know, so by the time Benson Henderson got to Jorge Masvidal, he wasn't the same Benson Henderson at that time. And he still got the job done. It was a split decision. It wasn't unanimous, but I mean, it's still telling. Because Benson Henderson is nowhere near as big and nowhere near as skilled, I would say, as Kamaru Usman. And that's just what I feel. And that's what, honestly, I mean, I don't know, dude. It kind of shows. It's kind of here on paper. And, you know, Jorge couldn't deal with it. And, you know, one judge thought that Jorge won, two didn't, you know. So, I mean, it's still a loss for Jorge. And then he has one more 5-round fight that went to unanimous decision for Gilbert Melendez. And I was in Strikeforce. Now, Gilbert Melendez was that motherfucking man in Strikeforce. People forget, dude. People forget. You know, he lost his last 5 fights, dude. And, you know, you hate to see it, man. You hate to fucking see it. And, you know, he lost by submission to Anthony Pettis. But, like, all the rest of these were, you know, decisions. A split decision to Eddie Alvarez, and, you know, a decision lost to Edson and Jeremy Stevens and Arnold Allen. And, you know, he just never got a chance to get a proper footing, you know, when he got to the UFC. But you see over here, dude, in Strikeforce, in Strikeforce, he was that fucking man, dude. Beating Josh Thompson, dude, Shinya Aoki, Jorge Masvidal, you know, fucking fought Josh Thompson again, dude. Like, this guy's a fucking monster. People forget about Gilbert Melendez. But not me, dude. Not me. And Gilbert Melendez took it to Jorge Masvidal, and he got a decision win in the 5th round. And I do believe that is it. That is all of Jorge Masvidal's 5-round fights. And, you know, it's not looking good for Jorge. It's not looking good. So, not only does Jorge Masvidal have to knock Kamaru Usman out in the first 2 rounds, and he's not going to knock Kamaru Usman out in the first 2 rounds, but then he has to deal with Kamaru in his insane fucking pressure in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. And Kamaru has excelled in these final rounds, you know? And on Joe Rogan's podcast, Kamaru talked about maintaining the same level of power all throughout the fight. And if you look at his fights, it's kind of fucking true, you know? I've never seen him, you know, slack off. Like, he puts everything in the strikes. He puts everything into his fucking wrestling. And he's a devastating fighter. Jorge Masvidal is not ready for this. I don't think he is. I mean, I think he is. He has the record. He has the experience. But, like, this isn't the fight that he wants, bro. He doesn't want this fight. It's not going to end good for him. Because Jorge Masvidal has a lot of momentum right now. He has a lot of clout. I want to see Jorge keep that clout. I want to see Jorge make some money and get the fuck out of this business, dude. I want to see Jorge fight Conor McGregor for the BMF title, because I know that would be a money fight for both fighters. It would be good for the sport. It would be good for these 2 men that certainly deserve it. You know, it would be great, dude. It would be great. But Jorge, you know, he has a championship to gain from this win, and that's true. You know, if Jorge wins, he's going to be the UFC and the BMF champion. You know, that would be fantastic for fucking Jorge, and then you can still make more fights down the road. But if Jorge loses this fight, oh boy, I'm telling you, his stock is going to diminish if he loses this fight. He can't lose this fight, because all the momentum, all this clout that he has garnered over the past year, it's gonna start slipping if he loses this fight, especially if he loses in a definitive way, especially if he loses in a definitive way after talking shit, dude. Talking shit. They're both talking at each other. They're both talking shit to each other, Kamaru and Jorge. But I mean, if Kamaru loses, I mean, he has to go back to to the back of the line. Probably not even to the back of the line. Well, he'll probably drop like maybe 5 spots, maybe 6 spots in the welterweight division, and he can fight right back up. You know what I mean? And so I mean, Kamaru, and then on top of that, Kamaru's only 32, and he hasn't taken a lot of damage in his MMA career. He hasn't taken very much damage at all. I know all fights take things out of fighters, but for the most part, he's done a very good job of not getting hurt too much in MMA. And it's not looking good for Jorge. This isn't a good matchup. And I don't know why, he would think it was. If I was Jorge, I would be knocking down Conor McGregor's door for this fucking fight. I would be calling him out left and right because, dude, you're 35, Jorge. Jorge is 35 years old. He doesn't have too much longer to be doing this shit, dude. He's been doing it since 2003. You know what I mean? In 2023... if Jorge would still be fighting, he would be fighting for 20 years. In 3 years, when Jorge is 38, he would be fighting for 20 years. 20 fucking years MMA fighting, dude. Like, that's insanity. That's insane, dude. That's an insane amount of time to be in this sport. Real shit. It's fucking mind-boggling. Honestly, he's been in for like what? Yeah, dude, he's been in for a while. So yeah, that's basically my take on this whole thing. I mean, it's all here. This isn't a very good fight for Jorge Masvidal. Kamaru, if this fight does happen, Dana, this fight happens, I'm letting you know now. And I'm letting everybody know now, this fight does happen, Kamaru's going to take it. Kamaru's going to take it by decision. I mean, it could happen anyways. Maybe he gets a KO. Maybe he gets TKO. Maybe he gets a submission. But if, Jorge has 2 rounds to knock Kamaru out, and I don't think that he is going to knock Kamaru out. I don't see that. I can't see that. I don't see how. I mean, anything can happen, especially in a sport like this, but I don't see it. It's not there. It's not there. He's going to have to be on Kamaru from the start of the bell, and he's not going to have to. He can't let up. He can't let up. Not even a little bit. Because I mean, as soon as those 2 rounds in, and I mean, at the whole time, Kamaru's going to be throwing his own strikes. Putting his own pressure on him. So, I mean, that's going to make it difficult for, Jorge to do what he needs to do. And, it's just going to drag on past the first 2 rounds, and it's going to just keep going, dude. And Jorge is going to deteriorate over the fight. I think after the 3rd round, he's going to get tired. Like, even against Nate Diaz, Jorge got tired. After that 3rd round, when the 3rd round ended, Jorge put both of his hands on the top of his head and walked back to the corner. Look at it. Go look at the fight. He put both of his hands on the top of his head, the universal signal that an athlete is tired, and he walked back to his fucking corner. You know what Nate Diaz didn't do? He didn't put his hands over his head and walk back to his corner. Nate Diaz wasn't fucking breathing hard. Jorge was breathing hard. He was breathing hard. Dude, that 4th and 5th round, that shit was going to be very telling, bro, for Jorge. I knew it was. But the doctor waved it off, and, he ended up getting the doctor stoppage. And now he's going to have to face a fighter in Kamaru Usman who hits harder than Nate Diaz. He's more defensively sound than Nate Diaz. He has better wrestling and better pressure fighting than Nate Diaz. He's a man. I mean, he hasn't been knocked out. You know, he takes good punches. He takes some fucking dude. Kamaru Usman can take heavy fucking hits. That's one thing people don't fucking give this man credit for. You see that goddamn head? You see Kamaru Usman's head? Look at that fucking head, dude. You know what we call that head here in Texas? We call it a fucking rock head, dude. That's what Kamaru Usman has. He has a fucking rock head. It's not easy to knock that guy out. I've seen this man take huge shots. He's taking huge fucking shots. And he's just been right there. He ate them all. He ate them all. Jorge's not going to knock him out, and it's going to go to the later rounds. And my guess is by round 4 or 5, I mean, Kamaru is going to be able to do whatever he wants with Jorge. That's honestly what I believe. I believe that, you know, Kamaru is just going to put it on him. I honestly do believe that. So that's my thought. Kamaru Usman by unanimous decision. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next video. And work's been kicking my ass, but I'm gonna try to got some days off. You know, I'm gonna get back to it. So thanks. Catch you guys later.